So let's begin with the first question. So a scientist is conducting an experiment using two beating frog hearts. Each heart is immersed in fluids. One heart in jar A and the second heart in jar B. The heart in jar A is stimulated and the heart speeds up. Some of the liquid from jar A is placed around the heart in jar B. The heart in jar B also beats faster. The best explanation for this is, so which one do you think is the best explanation? The temperature of fluid in jar A excites the heart in jar B. B, the nerve of the heart in jar A secreted into the fluid a chemical messenger that stimulated muscle movements. C, the increase in the rate of heart in jar B was coincidence. And then D, part of the nerve from the heart in jar A broke off into the fluid. So which one do you think is the correct answer here? Once, if you know it, you can just give the answer. But what did you choose?
B.
B, correct. Yeah, it's B. It's B. Okay, right. So what happened? There was something released, if this is A, there was something released into the fluid by the heart that when transferred into this also stimulated it. So since there's no connection between the two, it means that there was a chemical released into the fluid. So A released something to a fluid that stimulated B. Okay. All right, good. All right, number 2. If the hydrogen ion concentration of a solution is 1 × 10⁻³ what can you say about the solution? What can you say about the solution?
It's a strong acid.
It's a strong acid. Excellent, strong acid. Okay. Remember that we said that if you have a hydrogen concentration of 1 × 10⁻³, all right, quickly look at the exponent. The exponent is -3 and take the opposite of the exponent. Okay, so it means that the pH here will be equal to +3. Right, and then +3, if you think of the pH scale, 0 to 14. We have between 0 and 7, that's the area for acidity. All right, so acidity here. And then between 7 to the 14, the base. 7 is neutral. Neutral. Okay. And closer to 0, it is a strong acid. So this 3 is close to 0. So strong acid. Okay. And we said this will only work out. So this quick way will work out if it is 1 × 10, to an exponent, negative something. So that's the only time you can do this. Okay. Okay. Other than that, remember your pH is always equal to the negative log of the hydrogen ion concentration. So that's the definition. Okay. But if it is 1 × 10⁻³ you can quickly look at the exponent and take the opposite of the exponent. Okay. All right, number 3. A student placed a blue ink in a jar of water. After some time, the whole water turned blue. Which of the following process occurred?
B.
B, correct, simple diffusion. Simple diffusion. Yeah. So remember, the simple diffusion or passive diffusion is the movement of molecules from a region of high concentration to a region of lower concentration, right? So you have the jar, water, the ink is concentrated here, and the water hasn't got anything yet in it. So it now spreads out from concentrated to less concentrated. So that's simple diffusion. No energy is needed here. Okay. All right, number 4. Water enters the root of plants by which of the following process? Osmosis, simple diffusion, active diffusion, facilitated diffusion.
Osmosis.
By osmosis, correct. Osmosis, perfect. So remember the roots have like a membrane around them, right? Membrane, so cell membrane. And within this, you have dissolved salts. Okay, dissolved salts. So the cell membrane acts like a semi-permeable membrane, and then that separates the high concentration here, hypertonic, and then there's water around this is hypotonic, and the ground is hypotonic, right? So water flows from hypotonic solution to a hypertonic solution through a semi-permeable membrane, and that is osmosis. Correct. Okay. All right, number 5. Chloroplasts are found in which of these cell structures? Cytoplasm of human liver cell, the nucleus of a frog blast cell, cytoplasm of a bean leaf cell, and the nucleus of an onion skin cell.
C.
C, correct. C. So remember, chloroplasts only in plants, plant only. So you have to look for an answer that has plants in there, and it's not in the nucleus, it's in the cytoplasm. So the nucleus is going to have the DNA in it. Okay, number 6, good so far. During the formation of sodium chloride, sodium loses 1 electron from its outermost shell to chlorine. What type of bond is formed between these two atoms? What type of bond?
Ionic bond.
Ionic bond, perfect, ionic. So remember that in ionic bond, 1 atom loses and the other one gains. One loses, the other one gains, ionic bond. Covalent bond is sharing. Here you have sharing of electrons here. Okay, that's good. Metallic bond is formed like with a bond within like a metal. Okay. All right. So number 7. When red blood cell is placed in hypertonic solution, it will A, increase in size, B, shrink, C, rupture, D, remain the same. So talk about hypertonic solution. So what will happen?
It will shrink.
Okay, so it's going to shrink, correct. You're going to shrink. Okay, it's going to shrink because you're going to have the water leaving the hypotonic. Now the red blood cell is hypotonic. So water leaves into the hypertonic solution. Okay, so it's going to shrink, correct. Okay, number 8. Many people believe that some trees drop their leaves in late fall because the temperature is near freezing. Which of the following statements would least support this idea? Least support. So which one will you choose here? Maple leaves, A, maple leaves in North Minnesota drop their leaves in the late fall. B, maple trees growing near city lights stay green longer than those far from the lights. C, maple trees pass through a time of near freezing before they bud. And D, maple trees in South Florida drop their leaves in late fall.
D.
D, perfect. D. Okay. So in Florida, they don't have like freezing temperature yet. The leaves still drop their leaves in the late fall. Okay, so that least supports. this idea. Okay. All right, number 9. What will be the end product of glucose digestion? Glucose digestion. You know, if you break down glucose, what will you get? Sucrose, sorry. What will you get? Sucrose.
D. Glucose and fructose.
All right, correct. Glucose and fructose. Okay, sucrose, fructose.
Yes.
Remember,
I
I said
actually got this wrong because
this
I
one.
wasn't paying attention on the other portion and I answered C.
Oh, okay.
I only matched the sucrose to the fructose and then I got it wrong.
They all have one
They
way.
all have glucose.
They all have, yes, they all have glucose. Okay, so remember we said maltose. So they all have glucose. So don't worry your brain about glucose. All of them have glucose. So let's write that down. Lactose. And then we have sucrose. So they all have glucose to save your brain some energy. Glucose and all. Then you go figure out the other one. As I said, lactose it rhymes with galactose. Galactose. Sucrose in my mind, sucrose fructose. I don't know why, but it sounds like sucrose fructose. So fructose. It sounds nice in my ears like that. And then maltose is glucose and glucose. Okay. So if you figure out the last two, you can always, or think of maltose as glucose, and then play around with the lactose, galactose, and then sucrose, you can figure out what was the fructose. All right. Okay, number 10, which of the following will turn blue-black when tested with Lugol solution? Lugol solution. Remember, another word is this is iodine solution. It's iodine in alcohol.
Starch.
Yeah. So starch. Starch will turn blue-black with Lugol solution. Iodine test. Okay. Correct. 11, which structure includes all of the others? All of the others here. Which one? If you take one of them, it includes the other ones. Nucleus, chromosomes, genes. Okay.
It's the nucleus.
Make a good guess.
Nucleus.
Nucleus, yeah. The nucleus. So with the nucleus, we have the nucleolus, you have the chromosomes and the genes in there. Okay. All right, number 12. Most cell membranes are composed principally of DNA and ATP, proteins and lipids, chitin, starch, nucleotides, and amino acids. Cell membrane.
B.
All right, B. Proteins and lipids.
Phospholipids. That's the only thing I remember from that.
Yeah, proteins and lipids. Yeah. So remember, we have the address on the heads and then the tails. If you remember the head and tails.
The hydrophobic and hydrophilic.
Yes, hydrophobic, hydrophilic part. That's it. So the lipid part is inside. That is the tail. And then the head is a phosphate. It's phospholipids. And then the proteins will be, some of them will be on the surface. Some of them go through the whole membrane. You know, like for phone channels. There'll be some proteins inside. You know. So the proteins. Okay. All right, good. So B. 13. Which structure is usually present only in animal cell? Only in animal cell. Vacuole, cell wall, nucleus. D, correct. Central. So if somebody sees a central, the person looking at the animal cell. Central. Perfect. Okay. Normally in the process of osmosis, The net flow of water molecules into or out of the cell depends upon a difference in the A, concentration of water molecules inside and outside the cell. B, concentration of enzymes on either side of the cell membrane. C, rate of molecular motion on either side of cell membrane. Rate of movement of insoluble molecules inside the cell. So what does it depend on?
I guess this as A. Only
Hey, yeah, right. Good
I was
guess.
thinking of a hypertonic solution, so it
Good
depends.
thinking.
Okay.
That's it. Hypertonic, hypotonic. Yep.
Because if it's hypertonic, they're gonna have the cells are gonna have a issue traveling. I don't know. I just guess.
Yes. So that's it. The difference that one has to hypertonic, one has to hypotonic. So more molecules of water on one side than the other side, or you have a concentration of like salts, more salt on one side than the other side. Yeah. That's a good reasoning. Okay. All right. So number 15. Sodium ions are pumped from one region of the lower concentration to a region of higher concentration in the nerve cells of human beings. This process is an example of, so from region of lower concentration to a higher. So how can that process occur?
Active transport.
Perfect, active transport. You need energy to do that. Energy needed. Yeah. You're pushing against a concentration gradient. Okay. It's like moving something up a hill. You need to push it up. Okay, number 16. An organelle differs from an organ in that an organelle, A, is a substructure of a cell. B, contains one specific type of tissue. C, is larger than an organ. And D, cannot be stained. Organelle. And compare organ to organelle.
Organelle is inside the
Yep,
cell, and
inside the
organ
cell.
is consisting of multiple tissues that consist of multiple cells. I don't know. I just guess it down. It's smaller.
Smaller, yeah. So the organelles are like, we have the cell, and then the organs, the nucleus organelle. Okay, nucleus, mitochondria, and all those endoplasmic reticulum. And all those are the organelles. Okay. Okay. So what can we say? Which answer will be correct here?
A.
A, correct. It's a substructure. The sub. So there's a small structure within the cell, substructure. Okay, number 17. A car is traveling at a speed of 20 miles per hour. How far will it travel in 5 hours? 20 miles per hour in 5 hours.
100 miles.
Correct, 100 miles. Because distance is speed times time. Speed times time. So we have to multiply 20 miles per hour times 5, and that gives us 100 miles. Correct. Okay, number 18. We have that atomic masses given: calcium, oxygen, hydrogen, they're given. So what's the molecular weight of calcium hydroxide? Molecular weight. So here you have what? 1 calcium. So the weight is 40. 2 oxygens. See, 2 of these. So it's 2 times 16. and then one hydrogen, sorry, two hydrogens, two of hydrogens. So two hydrogens. So each one is one. Okay, so you have to add all this to get atomic mass, atomic molecular weight, to get a molecular weight. So it's 40 plus 32 plus 2, and then that will give us 74. So that should be C. Okay, 74. Okay, number 19. What's the distance traveled in 5 seconds by the car whose graph is shown below? So you're looking at distance traveled in 5 seconds. In other words, you're looking up to here. From here, the area, remember distance is the area under the graph or the line when you have velocity and time. Okay, is the area under the velocity time graph. So we're looking at all this here. It's 5 seconds, 0 to 5 seconds. All this.
D20.
Okay, so you have to think of area of a triangle. See, it's a triangle. So think of area of a triangle. So it's going to 1/2. So the area here is 1/2
Base times height.
base times height. Yeah.
That's why I was wrong. Thank
It's a
you.
triangle. It's a triangle here. Triangle. So we have 1/2. The base is going to be 5. And then the height is from here to there. So that is 20, right? 20 here. So times 20. So that gives us 50. No, let me see. Yeah, half 5, 20, that's 50. So 50 meters. So it should be B. B. Okay. So always shade the area, it's from 0 to 5, and then the area under the line between that interval. If it's a square or a rectangle, then to be length times width. The triangle have base times height. Okay. Okay, let's look at number 20. It's based on the graph. So during which time interval did the object travel the greatest distance? So greatest distance. So think about the area under the graph again, between those time intervals. So 2 to 10 seconds. 2, this is 2 to 10 seconds. 2 here, 10 is here. So we're looking at from all this area here to 10. That's 2 to 10 seconds. Okay, the area in between. And then 4 to 10 seconds. 4 to 10 seconds will be from here to there. 4 to 10 seconds will be here, all the way here. Okay, 0 to 2 will be from here to there. 0 to 2, here to there. And then 10 to 12, 10 to 12 will be from here to 12. So which one will be the greatest distance? In other words, the largest area. We're going to use the largest area.
2 to 10. That's a
2
lot
to
of
10.
squares.
Yep, 2 to 10. 2 to 10. So that's 2 to 10 here. Okay. All right, 21. Given the unbalanced equation, what's the coefficient of O2 in the balance equation here? If you balance this.
C3.
Okay, C is 3, that's correct. That's correct. So if you balance this, you have oxygen to here, to 3 here. So we have to put 3 here. So that makes this has to be 2 here, and then this will be 2. Okay. So oxygen is 3. Okay, 22. A student is observing a cell under the compound microscope. Which of these instruments will best remove the cell nucleus? Best remove the cell's nucleus.
I guess D.
D, correct guess.
Because it's already in a microscope, so you need something micro.
Yeah.
D.
Yeah, right. Good thinking. Good thinking. You know. So micro dissection apparatus, tiny for removing tiny objects. Micro dissection apparatus. And 23. In most living things, all the following groups of chemicals can be found. So it can be found except lipids, synthetic polymers, nucleic acids, and carbohydrates. So which ones will not find in the living thing?
I guess B, synthetic.
Yes, synthetic, correct. Okay. We know lipids, all those things are carbohydrates, nucleic acids, all in the body. Okay. All right, 24. An object travels a distance of 50 meters when a force of 4 newtons act on it. What is the work done? The work done. Remember, we said work done is equal to the force times the distance through which the force moves, right? Force times distance. So remember this formula. Now the distance is given as 15 meters. So that's 15. And the force is 4 newtons. So it's going 4 times 15. And then that gives us 60 joules. 60 joules. So work force times distance. Okay. So which of the following is a function of the messenger RNA? Messenger RNA. A, carries the code for protein synthesis. B, carries the amino acids. C, it creates a code on the tRNA. And then it is responsible for lipid synthesis. Messenger RNA.
A.
A, yep, has a code. Carries a code, messenger, message. Okay. 26, which of the following is a neutralization reaction? Neutralization. Remember, neutralization is acid plus base to give you salt and water. That's neutralization reaction. So identify acid, identify the base, and you have a salt and water.
B.
B, correct. Sodium hydroxide, that's the base. HCl, that's the acid. NaCl, salt, and this is the water, correct. 27, which of the following would turn red litmus paper blue? Here's a question we asked someone else this morning. Which of the following would turn red, red becoming blue? So it means that you are dealing with a base, right? Something that is a base. That's what you're dealing with here. So which one will be a base here? Sodium hydroxide, right? Sodium hydroxide. Okay. So now this question is based on this diagram. Use the diagram above to answer questions 28 to 29. The diagram above illustrates which of the following: A, the biliary tree; B, the muscular system; C, the reflex arc; D, the vagus pathway.
Reflex arc.
Yeah, that's a reflex arc. Reflex arc. Okay. The part label 1 is A, sensory nerve; B, motor nerve; C, interneuron; and D, vagus nerve. So the part labeled 1. So that's from the receptor cell. So it's coming in here.
It's a sensory nerve or the afferent.
Correct. So sensory nerve or the afferent. Afferent nerve. Correct. 2 is the motor nerve. Motor nerve or the efferent. Or the efferent. Efferent nerve. 29. The part labeled, no, so I think we answered that question, right? Sensory. Okay, correct. Number 30.
Professor, can I quickly interrupt you, please? I am in my class, but I just wanted to make sure that this is recording, right?
How do we really look at
Yeah.
this one, right?
Okay, all right, thank you.
Look at it.
Okay. Number 30. Organisms that produce sexually go through a stage of development called the blastula. The stage occurs during which part of the organism's development? A, before conception; B, within several hours after conception; C, halfway through gestation; and D, within several hours before birth.
My guess was B, only because I don't know what gestation is.
Okay, it's correct. It's B, within several hours of gestation, right? So once you
No,
no,
but-
no, you make me use your words. I shouldn't be using your words. It's like where's my mouth, right? It occurs several hours after fertilization, right? You know, so you have the sperm and then fertilize the egg, and then you have what you call the forms the zygote, right? The zygote, and then the zygote develops the blastula and so on. Okay, so but it occurs several hours after conception, you know, after fertilization. Okay. All right. The gestation just refers to, like, you know, the after the growth stage when the baby is developing, you know, period of gestation.
Thank you, Professor.
You're welcome. 31. The moon has about 1/7 the mass of the earth. A person weighs 100 pounds on the earth. Approximately how much will this person weigh on the moon? Okay, so the key is 1/7. Okay, 1/7. Person's weight 1/7 that of the earth.
I answered 7 pounds, but it was wrong. Can you please explain, Professor?
Okay, so here, since it's about 1/7, and this is the weight of the person on the earth, right? So it's going to be 1/7 times 100. 1/7 times 100. Okay. But the weight is 1/7 of what it will be on the earth. Okay. So it's around 14, approximately. Okay. Number 32. Right, based on the eye, famous eye. Okay. So in which structure will you find the rods and cones? The rods and the cones. Structure 1, 2, 3, 4. Rods and cones are in the retina. The retina is going to be 2. Rods and cone. Rods for the black and white colors, black and white vision. And also for night vision. Good for night vision. The cones are good for color vision. And also for daytime vision. Okay. They need a lot of light to stimulate them. Okay, 33. Which structure is responsible for accommodation or focusing of image on the retina? So accommodation, keyword accommodate or focusing. Okay. So we know that what the lens does that, right? Lens. And the lens is going to be 1. Accommodation. Okay. Then number 34 says, which of the following is used for night and black and white vision?
The rods.
Ready or so. Oh, it's rods, yeah.
Cones is the colors, right? Yes.
Say that again.
Cones is for colors, correct?
Yeah, cone for color vision.
Thank
Color vision. And also for like daytime vision. That works well. Okay, so 35, a person who is short-sighted is said to be, think of your English words. This is like the vocabulary, root of words. Hypermetropic, presbyopic, myopic, hypotensive.
Myopic.
Myopic, yeah. When somebody's myopic, the person is short-sighted. So it's myopic. Someone who has a myopic view. It means doesn't see a narrow-minded person, you know. So you can have that in your English vocabulary as well. Okay. Hypermetropia, long-sighted. Hyper, high, far, or high. 36. In the human ear, dash help in balancing of the body, whereas dash is involved with hearing. So human ear, balancing. So balancing has to be either the semicircular canals or the vestibule. Okay, one of them. So we have the semicircular canals will be here, and then cochlea is for hearing. So it has to be B. .37. There are 5 grams of salt dissolved in 25 ml of water. What percent solution is it? What percent solution? Okay, so 5 grams in 25. Okay, it's 5 grams in 25. So you're gonna write 5 out of 25. So this is what we call mass percent. 5 grams in 25 times, if you multiply this by 100, then you get a percentage. Okay, so it's 1/4 of 100. 1 here, 5, 5 here is 1, 5 here is 20, so 20%. So it's a 20% solution. Okay. Then 38, so which structure functions as a cardiorespiratory center? Cardiorespiratory center. I hope you remember that one.
Medulla oblongata.
Yeah, medulla oblongata, correct. Okay, so cerebellum, remember, as a balancing, plays a role in balancing, one of the roles. Cerebrum, higher centers, thinking processes, and so on. Thinking processes, and then personality, intelligence, etc. Okay. Etc. Hypothalamus, we know what it does. You remember when we were doing the endocrine system, we saw that it's part of the endocrine system as well. It plays other roles too. 39, the left ventricle pumps oxygenated blood to all parts of the body via A, the pulmonary vein, B, pulmonary artery, C, aorta, and D, inferior vena cava. So you're talking about the left ventricle.
Aorta.
Aorta, correct. What type of circuit is shown in this diagram? Series parallel electromagnetic complex. So this one is going to be a parallel circuit.
Parallel. The house.
Yep. So that one, you have alternate pathways, multiple pathways. If I block here, the current can still flow through the other ways. Okay. If I block here, it can still pass here and pass there, So that's alternate pathway. If it's series will look like this. Series will just go like, only one path. So if I block, nothing will go through, So this one is series. Okay. Which equation summarizes photosynthesis? So no, photosynthesis, remember that you need carbon dioxide, you need some water, and then you need sunlight. And chlorophyll must be present for you to have photosynthesis.
I answered A only because B is respiration, correct?
Okay.
I think. But I answered A
Yeah,
because it's a
it's
product
correct.
of. All right, cool.
Right track. Right track. So good analysis. That's how you take the test, analyze and eliminate. So you need carbon dioxide, you need water, and energy. The energy is that's the sunlight energy. And then you form glucose. And then oxygen is a waste product. If you balance this, what you get, correct. If you turn it backwards, then it becomes respiration. Okay. So you're right. The second one is respiration. 42. What goes up the roots from the plant vessel called, so the roots, what goes up, we call it xylem. Xylem carries water from the roots to the leaves. And then once the glucose is produced or manufactured, it goes from the leaves down to other parts of the plant storage site through the vessel, which you call the phloem. Phloem. So xylem and phloem. So xylem carries water up, phloem carries the glucose down to other storage sites. Okay, so it should be. Okay, You're getting there slowly. Which formula represents a compound containing one double bond? One double bond. Double bond.
D.
Okay, double bond. So you remember double bond, the formula? C
N plus
H
oh,
2N. Okay, that's the one for double bond. And that's what we call the alkene. Alkene. Okay.
Professor, how come it's not that C3 is not allowed to?
C3.
Oh, not C3. Letter B. Oh, the one that says C3H6. Oh,
Okay, let me
never
check.
mind. No, I think I figured it out.
No, I think, okay, I think there's a typo here.
No, I think it's right because it's the N is 2.
This
and
is 2.
Right? Look, C3H6.
Yeah, there's a typo for this one.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
But
so
if we answer C3H6, that's still possible, right? Even though
yeah, it's possible. So it could be this, it could be that.
Okay.
Because you have to 2 times, the hydrogen is 2 times that of the carbon, for double bond. So maybe this one I should have made it maybe C3H8, something like that.
Thank you, Professor.
Yeah, you're right. Okay. I have to check the one I gave to you if I fixed it. I'll check that one and see. Okay.
No, Professor, I answered correct. C2H4. It's just that my first answer was C3H6, and I'm like, the sample that you used was C2H4.
Yeah.
I used that. But that's why I asked, like, how come if C3H6 is also possible?
Yeah, it's correct. I mean, for this one. Yeah.
Thank you.
But I'm sure that the one I gave to you, the test I gave to you should be correct on that one. I'm
Yes.
sure I probably fixed it on that one. Okay. Hopefully, I'll check that one. I'll go back and check. Okay, so number 44. The villi in the small intestine are present to A, decrease the surface area for absorption of digested food. B, increase the surface area for absorption of digested food. C, release digestive enzymes. And then D, release digestive juices. Function of the villi. Once you see villi, quickly increase area of absorption should come to your mind. Increases the area, surface area for absorption. Very important. 45. The basic functional unit or the genitourinary system is basic functional unit, genitourinary system. Okay. So remember that's the nephron. So it should be C. Okay. The nephron, that's where the urine is produced. And then 46. Okay, someone should try 46. Which of the following nuclear processes is illustrated by the following equation? Alpha emission, beta emission, nuclear fusion, nuclear fission. Okay, this should be nuclear fusion. See, the 2 atoms are joining, okay, to give you that. So remember I said if you have A plus B, giving you, let's say, C. You are joining these 2 to produce a larger atom. So that's nuclear fusion. So nuclear fission, this one is splitting, split up. Splitting atoms. That's nuclear fission. 47. Which of the following will result in the formation of a homogeneous solution? So we're talking about homogeneous solution. You'll not see any boundary in that solution. So if you look at all this, if you put salt in water, it dissolves and you can't see any boundary. No, so it's C and D. Only one face. Okay. All right. So think through 48 based on this table. No, titration. Okay. So you have the pH and then the volume of sodium hydroxide added to HCl. So what's the volume of sodium hydroxide at the equivalence or neutralization point? Equivalence or neutralization point. So you have neutralization, the key word is neutralization points. So you have to look at pH of what? 7. pH of 7.
My
Neutralization.
answer was B, 15 ml.
15, correct. For pH of 7, that's so that's 15. 15, correct. Okay, this one is chemistry. Sodium chloride, potassium chloride, calcium chloride are white colorless salts. Which of following procedures will best distinguish among them? A, to see whether they dissolve in water. It's a test to see whether they dissolve in water. B, determine how quickly each burns. C, determine how each affects the freezing point of water and perform the flame test on each of them. Okay. Now this one, you do what we call the flame test. The flame test. I know most people haven't come across this before. It's called a flame test. So what you do is that you have the Bunsen burner in the lab, Bunsen burner, a fire, you have the flame. And then you can, let's say this is like a spatula or something. And then put in sodium chloride here or potassium chloride or the other one, calcium chloride. It will give you a very nice color. You know, they produce different colors. You know, with different colors we produce here, different flame colors. And that's what got the flame test. If you get a chance, you can Google flame test, the image, and you see beautiful colors like that. And that helps to distinguish between these three salts. They all have distinct colors that they produce. Okay, number 15. Sorry, 50. An animal with a chitinous exoskeleton. Chitinous exoskeleton. That means on the outside, exo. And jointed appendages will be classified in which of the following phyla? Okay, which of the following phyla? Okay, the answer here, will somebody get guess?
I guess A, Arthropoda.
Yeah, Arthropoda. Correct, arthropods. Arthro, in arthro like joints. That's where arthritis. Keyword again, root of word arthritis, arthro. That's where it comes from. Arthritis and so on. Joints, something with the joints. So you have jointed appendages, chitinous exoskeleton. So these are arthropoda, insects belong to this group. Okay, like the insects are in this group. Chordata, chordates, animals with backbone. So annelids deal with worms. And then we know protozoa, those one-cell organisms. Protozoa, they're unicellular. organisms. Okay, so this radioactivity, 51. If 200 grams of radioactive substance disintegrates to 50 grams after 8 days, what is the half-life of the substance? Half-life of the substance. So 200 grams, we start with 200 grams. And then it has a half-life of 8 days. So that means that the first 8 days is going to disintegrate to 100, half-life, half of that. Another 8 days is going to be what, 50. So said, oh no, I have it wrong. We are rather, so what's the half-life? So you have to be careful here. Let me go back. I'm using it at the half-life, but that's not the half-life. The whole thing takes 8 days. That's what it's saying. Okay, so 200, first half-life, 100 grams. Second half-life is going to be another half of that. So that's 50. Now the whole of this is 8 days. That's what the question is saying. 8 days for all. Okay, so what will be the half-life? You have 2 half-lives here. So you have to divide the 8 into 2. So maybe this should be 4 days. And this is 4 days to make 8. So that's half-life of 4 days. 4 days. Okay, number 52. 2 forces of magnitude 8 and 5 newtons. They act in opposite directions, right? As we can see here. So what's the magnitude of the resultant force? Resultant force. Okay, somebody try that one.
C, 7 newtons.
7 newtons, correct, 7 newtons. Opposite directions, you subtract. So it's 15 minus 8, so that's 7 newtons. Okay. So it's going to prove 7 newtons in this direction. Okay, correct. 53. A food substance is placed in blue Benedict solution and heated. The color of the solution changes to brick red. This color change indicates the presence of, so we're talking about Benedict solution.
Glucose. Glucose is a simple sugar.
Simple sugar, correct. What will be the other test for glucose? Another test for glucose. Another test. You remember Fellings? Fellings test. Okay, Fellin and Benedict test.
At the boiling?
Yeah, you boil them and then you have brick red color. Purple color become brick red.
Yes.
Yeah. So in Benedict's or Fellin's test can be used. Okay. All right. So 54. When a short bean plant was pollinated with pollen from a tall plant, half, that's 50% of the seeds, produced 10 out to be short. So 50% short. What conclusion can we make from this observation? The short plant was heterozygote dominant. The tall plant was homozygous dominant. The tall plant was heterozygote. We cannot tell the genotype. How can we get 50 shots? All right. So it means here we expect the tall plant to be heterozygote. Heterozygote. In other words, it should be like uppercase and lowercase. Okay, so it means this has to be uppercase and lowercase, and this is lowercase. Saying shortness is always dominant, right? This is the only way we can have 50%, 50%. Okay. So if you think of the Punnett square, Then this will be T, uppercase T, and lowercase t. And that one will be lowercase. So you have T. All right. So you see, this will be tall, 2 tall, and then 2 short. Okay, so it's 2 out of 4, and then another 2 out of 4. Yeah, so these are tall and short, 50-50, half. Okay. 55. An organism that contains a specialized system for distributing digested food throughout the body is, so which one? Digest a specialized system. So it's a more developed organism, like let's say amoeba, paramecium, earthworm, and hydra, which all have a more specialized. So it's a highly developed organism. Okay, so that should be earthworm. Earthworm. Okay. It's more special, more developed than the other ones. Amoeba is 1-cell organism. Paramecium, also 1-cell organism. Okay, 56. Which of the following is an endocrine gland? Endocrine gland. So we know that pineal gland is an endocrine gland. Then 57. So you have this data here. So think about your lab exercises, what you do in the lab. You want to weigh something, all right? So you have the crucible, empty, you have to weigh the empty crucible, and then that's 15 grams, empty. Then you take a crucible and then the hydrate. Hydrate means there's water in whatever you are dealing with. And then, so this gives you 22 grams. And then after heating up this hydrate, you are left with the crucible with the dried form of that substance. And now the whole thing weighs 18 grams. So the question is asking you, what is the I didn't put a question on this one. The foreign data obtained for here. Okay, but the question is, what is the mass of the hydrate? This is what this one should be. What is the mass of water? I know I'm missing that one on this here. What is the mass of water? That's what the question should be. The mass of water in the hydrates. Okay, mass of water in hydrate. Okay. So here, we need to find the weight of the hydrate. Okay, so it means you subtract 15 from 22. So 22 minus 15, and that will give us 7 grams. So it means this weighs 7 grams. Whatever I see as 7 grams. Okay, if we take out the crucible. Then after heating, what's the mass of the hydrate of the dehydrated substance? The dehydrated substance, take out the mass of the crucible. So we have 18 minus 15. So that will give us 3 grams left in here. Okay, that will be the weight of this. So how much water was in there? To find how much water you have in there, it means that you're going to take this is this 7 minus this 3. That means the difference of 4 grams represents the water, the mass of the water in the hydrates. Okay. You can also do this faster in a quicker way than what I did. Okay. Now, if you think through the project, I intentionally did this for you to see what's happening. Okay. But we can also do quickly from here. If I subtract the mass of the hydrate, this here, mass of the hydrate, and then the mass of the crucible and the hydrate minus the mass of the crucible plus the substance remain after heating. If I subtract these two, I'll come out with the same answer here. So that'll be so 22 minus 18. If I do that, I can get the answer also from there. But this is a thinking process that's happening here. Okay. So mass of the hydrate plus crucible minus the mass of the crucible and the substance remaining. Subtract these two. You get the answer. Okay. And then 58. Modern day giraffes appear to have longer necks than their ancestors. Lamarck will explain this phenomenon by his theory of, okay, so Lamarck's theory has to do with use and disuse. Use and disuse. Okay. Because he was saying that the giraffe use their neck, it was like farming, they had to stretch their necks to get food on trees. So by stretching their neck and using it, they ended up having long necks that they pass on to other organisms. That was his theory. Use and disuse. The more you use it, the more you develop that structure, according to him. Okay. Natural selection, so if it is, then you think of Charles Darwin. Okay, this and that one, then Darwin. Okay. Okay, 59. I want to hear your answer for 59. I always take a poll on that one. Okay. Okay, a branch of an orange tree is grafted onto a grape tree. Which of these fruits will be produced? So you have a grape, and then you take a branch and graft an orange tree here. So let's say this orange tree. Let's grab the orange tree here. Okay. And then the grape here. Okay, so the question is, which of these fruits will be produced by the grafted branch? So these are grafts. That's the orange graft. A, oranges only. B, grapefruits. C, both oranges and grapefruits. And D, a hybrid fruit with characteristics of orange and grapefruits. Which one do you think?
Oranges only.
Oranges only. Okay, how many people don't agree with that? I like the way you said with confidence.
Because I've done it before.
I like that. It's oranges only. Yeah. Orange.
I actually thought that was gonna happen. Like I would get like a hybrid of
the two,
fruit.
right? Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, yeah, because that's why I always take a poll on this one. When you're in the classroom, I intentionally take a poll and see how many. And some people give me, like hybrid. Yeah. Okay, so the key here is that when you graph something, right, it's always going to be the same thing. Like bears like. You can't give rise to something that you are not. So orange will always give rise to orange. Grape will always give rise to grape, and so on. The only thing is that they're nutrients. You're just getting nutrients from this one.
Yes, exactly.
That's the only thing it's getting. But to bear its kind, that's the thing here. Okay. and 60. So which of the following will occur during inspiration? Inspiration. So during this inspiration, as we said last time, the diaphragm moves down, the rib cage moves up. So what happens? It means the volume of the thoracic cavity has increased. Once the volume goes up, what happens to the pressure? The pressure goes down. Bohr's law. Okay, we did it last time, Bohr's law. So pressure goes down. Once the pressure goes down, it means that the atmospheric pressure is now higher than the inside. The thoracic pressure is now lower. So the air will rush in. Oxygen will rush in from high pressure to low pressure. Okay. So here, the answer is A. The diaphragm moves down, the volume of the thoracic cavity increases. The intrathoracic pressure goes down and air rushes in. Okay. So that's Bohr's law being applied here.
Professor,
Yes, please.
the test though, it says the correct answer is D. The diaphragm moves up, the volume of the thoracic cavity increases, the intrathoracic pressure goes down, and the air rushes in. I answered A, but it was wrong.
Oh, then I have to go and check. I have to go and fix that one.
That was tricky though.
Yeah, so
The wording.
I'll put a note and then go back to look at the program file. I put the wrong check in there.
Thank you.
It should be A. A is the correct answer.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so I'll go back when we finish and then go fix that one. So that one in the 57, I have to put in a check again whether I put in a question or not. Okay. All right. So in a nutshell, this is like a copy of what you did. Okay. Any question on the science before we look at the math area? All right. So the main thing is that remember to increase your speed. You need to have time yourself going forward so that you can, increase your speed. Don't spend more than 1 minute on a question. You got to move fast. Because these ones were even shorter questions. I didn't put in a lot of what they call it, the one I have to read comprehension, read a little bit, so you have to time yourself very well, when you're practicing. Okay. All right. So this is the math too. The math, don't spend a minute on a question when you're practicing. Some will be fast, some will take your time. So you have to balance yourself. And remember, I said a lot of proportion. If you master your proportions, it's going to take you a long way. Okay. All right, so let's come to the math. Do you want to take a break or you're okay?
Yes, please. My brain hurts.
Okay, so I know it's been long with the test and everything. Okay, so let's see, it's 12:47. You want us to come back 1 o'clock?
Yes, please.
Okay, so then we have 1 hour to finish.
All right. Thank you, Professor.
All right. Okay. All right, the first question says, assume that the ratio of death resulting from colon cancer to death from diabetes is 5:3. For every 200 deaths resulting from colon cancer, how many deaths would result from diabetes? Okay. So in this question, we can use proportion. Proportion. Okay. So we can say that 5:3. Okay. So 5 cancer death to diabetes. So let me say cancer to 3 diabetes. Set out the same ratio on this side. So cancer to diabetes. Okay. So been given 20 deaths from colon cancer. So that's 200. So 200 deaths. So that's 200 here. And then this is missing, X is missing. So this will be the proportion that you want to solve. Okay. So you do a cross product, 5 times X, 5X is equal to 3 times 200. And divide by 5, divide by 5. So 5 can go into itself one time. 5 into 200, that's 40. So 40 times 3. So you have 120. Okay, so that's 120. Okay. Okay. So let me know if you have a particular question, just stop me so that I can go over. Okay, okay, number 2, the daily cost of childcare, $220. If the cost increased by 15%, so 15% increase, what would be the daily cost? Okay. So we need to find 15% of 220. So 220 times 15%. I'm going to change that to decimal. So to decimal, 2 decimal places. So that will be 0.15. Okay, 15%. So this will give us 33. 33. Since it's increased, you have to add on to the original. So 220 plus 33. And then we should get 253. So this should be the answer. So percent increase. Then number 3 is asking for greatest common factor, GCF. So the greatest common factor, you have to look at the numbers first, look at the numbers. So ask yourself 4 and 16, what will be the greatest common factor? It's going to be 4, right? 4 can go into 4, it can go into 16. So 4 is the greatest common factor for the numbers. Now, what about b cubed and b to the power 5? The greatest common factor is going to be the one with the smallest exponents, right? So b cubed will be part of the GCF. Then d squared, and then d, smallest exponent, so d. And then f and f cubed, smallest exponent, so f. So GCF will be 4b cubed df. So that has to be d. So for the variables, you use the one with the smallest exponents. All right, number 4. The perimeter of a rectangle is 48. If the rectangle is 8 centimeters wide, how many centimeters long is it? So if you get a perimeter, the idea of a rectangle. So remember, for a rectangle, the perimeter is 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. So 2 times the length, we don't know the length. So I'm going to 2 times L plus the width. 2 times the width is 8. So replace that. And this should be equal to 48, the perimeter. And then you solve for L. Okay. So we have 2L is equal to 48 minus 16. So that's 32 divided by 2. So your L will be equal to 16. So the length is 16. And then number 5. 20 ml of alcohol is combined with 240 ml of water. What is the percentage of alcohol in the resulting solution? right? So the resulting solution. So the total volume for the resulting solution will be equal to 250 plus 450. And that should give us 700 ml. So what percent does the alcohol form out of this? The alcohol is just 250 of the alcohol out of 700. Okay. So if I multiply this by 100, then it gives me the percentage. So you can use your calculator to do that, or if you want to use manually, go manually, then you can cross out. Okay. The zeros will cross out, so 250 over 7 left. And that gives us 35.71%. So to one decimal place, that means the answer will be B. Okay. Number 6, you want to evaluate the expression. You were given X, you want to find Y, so we're solving for Y here. So 3 times replace the X with the given number is equal to 5Y plus 12. And then isolate Y. So this is 27 is equal to 5Y plus 12. Minus 12 from both sides. So 27 minus 12 is equal to 5Y. So 15 is equal to 5Y. So Y is equal to 3. So the answer is C. So for number 7, I believe everybody had that. If you multiply that out, you should get A. If you didn't get that, then you can let us know. Number 8, volume. Volume of a cube. If working with a cube, remember the volume of a cube will be length times the width times the height. Okay. Volume. Area times height gives the volume. So what we have here, we have 13 times 14 times 6. If you work this out, you should get 1092 centimeters cubed. Okay. Now, one thing that you have to be careful, in the answers, I was telling some people this, the units, right? What the units? Sometimes you could have the answers given, but then the unit can be centimeters, centimeters squared, and so on, centimeters cubed. You have to know the right unit for whatever you're dealing with. If it's per meter, then you expect centimeters. If it's squared, that means you're dealing with area. Cube, we are dealing with volume. So watch out for these things in the questions. Okay, you're dealing with volume to expect to have cube. Either you make it squared or something, it's not volume. Okay. Okay, number 9. Addition of fractions. Before you add 2 fractions, make sure you have LCD. So we need the LCD here. 20. So this is 4 times 5 to give us 20. So multiply numerator also by 5. So that'll be 15. 5 times 4 give us 20 in the denominator. Whatever I do to the denominator, do the same to the numerator. So also times 4. So this should be 16. Now we can add the numerators since we have the same common denominator. And then the whole numbers. So 3 plus 2, that is 5. 15 plus 16, that will give us 31. So 31 over 20. But this is an improper fraction. So I need to convert this to a mixed number. So we're going to divide 20 into 31. That's 1 time 20, subtract 11. So we have one whole number, 11 out of 20 parts left. Okay, so you're going to add the 1 to the 5, so that we'll have 6 whole numbers and then 11 out of 20. Okay, so the answer should be D. Number 10. For number 10, you have to factor out first. So common factor here, X is a common factor in the numerator. You factor that out, you have X here minus Y over Y is a common factor in the denominator. So you have Y minus X, which is equal to, now we have to make sure one of they look alike. There are common factors here, but the X minus Y, it's not the same as Y minus X, but we can make them look alike. So what we're going to do, we're going to switch the positions of X and Y. But once you switch, it becomes opposite. Remember, I said if I have 2 minus 3, it's the same as 3 minus 2. But then you take the opposite, negative of that. Okay. So the same thing here. If I switch Y and the X, Y minus X, if I make Y minus X, I have to take negative of this. So negative of the whole thing. Then they look alike. Okay. Now I can cross out the common factors, which will be this. So the answer will be negative X minus Y. Sorry, negative X over Y. So it should be B. Number 11, so what percent of 85 is 5? What percent of 85 is 5? So, excuse me. Remember, is over off, right? Is over off. The part is a part. Off is going to be your whole or the base. Okay. And that will be equal to the percent over 100. 100 goes to the base of the whole. Okay, so that's the percent proportion. Okay. So if I were to identify the part and the base, you'll be on the right track. So what percent of this? So 5 is a part, is over 85. That's the whole. Okay, it's equal to X over 100. In other words, if you multiply this by 100, 5 over 85, if I multiply by 100, I'll get the answer. Okay. So if you do that, you should get D. Okay, 5.88. Then number 12. Number 12, you can do like a back solving approach, or you can just go the longer way of solving system of equations. Okay. Which we can do here easily. I believe we can do that here easily. If I look at this, if I put 14 in here, it's going to be too large. We have 4 times 14, and then 20 times 2b. It's going to be a big number. So I'm not going to waste my time on this one. Now, if I look at the next one, 2 and 4. Okay, let's look at 2 and 4. 4 times 2 plus 2 times 4. 8 plus 8 doesn't give me 24. So it means that this is not good. What about C? C, you have 8 times you have 4 times 8 plus 2 times -4. Does it give me 24? Let's see, this is 32 minus 8. This is 24. All right, so this works out. So it checks out here because 24 equal to 24. That's correct. Now it should satisfy the second equation too. 3x, so 3 times 8 plus 2 times -4 should be 16. 24 minus 8 is equal to 16. So you have 16 equal to 16. So it's also correct. So it means that C is your answer here. You know. So you can use the back solving approach. Okay. The other method to do this will be the proper way, which is a system of equation approach. In that case, you're going to do, if I have 4x plus 2b is equal to 24, I'm going to write the other equation underneath like this. Okay. Now I can get rid of, I have to get rid of, I'm going to use elimination method. If I use elimination method, it means I have to get rid of one of the variables. I see 2b here, 2b there, but they are plus, both are positive. I have to make one negative so that I can combine those two. So what can I do? I can multiply the whole of this by a negative number. I can do that. If I multiply by the negative number, I'll end up with this now becoming negative 3x minus 2b is equal to negative 16. This one will remain the same. So I'm going to rewrite this. 4x plus 2b is equal to 24. And then you add these two equations. If you add the two equations, this will cross out. Let me use a different. So this will cross out, and then you end up with x here to be equal to 8. You know, x is 8. Once you have 8, then you go back to any of the equations and substitute 8 into the equation. So you can substitute 8 here. So if you substitute 8 into this equation, then you can solve for b. 4 times 8 plus 2b is equal to 24. Okay, so 32 plus 2b is equal to 24. 2b is equal to, they have negative 8 here, divided by 2, and b will be negative 4. Okay. So that is the other method. But as I said, you can always use back solving quickly. Do elimination, back solving. Okay. Number 13, what's the area of a triangle with a base of 20 centimeters and height of 15? So a triangle, so we know that area of a triangle is half base times height. Okay. So the area here will be 1/2 base is 20 and height of 15. So that'll be 150 centimeters squared. Okay. Then number 14. Two rectangles have the same ratio of length to width. So here we are dealing with what? Similar rectangles. Okay, same ratio of length to width. The first rectangle is 9 by 15. So let's draw a quick triangle. So this is 9 by 15. Nine by 15. And then there's a second rectangle. It's 12 centimeters wide, so it's 12 The length we don't know, so let's call it x. So since they are similar rectangles, we can compare the ratio of the length to the width. They should be the same. So ratio of the length, which is 15 to 9 for the first one, should be the same as the ratio of the width to the length here, or the length to width. This is length to width. So the same length, which is x over 12. Okay, set up a proportion based on this. So we do the cross product, then we'll have 9x is equal to 15 times 12 divided by 9 divided by 9. So your x will be equal to, you can use a calculator or you can reduce to lowest terms if you like to. So 3 here is 3 into 5 is 15 into 15 is 5. 3 into itself is 1, 3 into 12 is 4. So I have 4 times 5, so that'll be 20. So the length is 20 centimeters. Okay. So remember, similar rectangles, similar triangles, you compare the ratio of the length to the width. They should be the same for both. You can set a proportion. Okay. So number 15. Two angles of a parallelogram measure 70 degrees each. How large is each angle of the remaining two? So parallelogram looks like this. Opposite sides are parallel. Okay, so we know that opposite angles are congruent. That means they are the same. So if this is 70 here, the opposite angle also 70. They're the same. You want to find the other one. So this angle here is the same as that angle on this side. So let's call it x. Okay. If you add all the angles, you should get 360 because it's a quadrilateral. So it's 360 degrees. So it means that x plus x plus 70 plus 70 should be equal to 360 degrees. Okay. So 2x plus 140 is equal to 360. 2x is equal to 360 minus 140. So 2x is equal to 1. So 220 divided by 2 divided by 2. So x will be equal to 110. So 110 degrees. In other words, add the two numbers 70 to 70, get 140, subtract from 360 and divide whatever you have left by 2. Okay, that's what the algebra means. Okay. Okay. Number 16. Number 16, that's percentage. So if 11% of a number is 55, what is the number? Okay, so identify the part in a whole. So we know the percentage, 11 out of 100, that's a percent. Set up the other ratio, so what is the number? We don't know the part, so we're looking for the part of. No, we know that it's 55. So is a part, we know that, so that's 55. It goes to the 11. You want of a number, we don't know the number, so the base is unknown, x. So this should be your setup. Okay, the setup should look like this. And then do your cross product. 11x is equal to 55 times 100. Divide by 11, divide by 11. So your x will be equal to 500. Okay. D. All right, so number 17 that's the one that would take a little bit of your time, So as you practice, you balance your time. Then you spend time on the one that will take more time. Some will take you less than a minute. Okay. Now 17 is a good question to review all your fractions, multiplying fractions, dividing fractions, subtracting is a good exercise for that. Okay. So let's see. So a 9-month-old baby drank an average of 7.14 ounces during each of 4 feedings. If the baby drank 7.5, 7.38, and then 6.38 ounces in the first 3 feedings, how many ounces were taken during the 4th feeding? Okay. So since we've been given the average for 4 feedings, we can use that to find the total amount of feeding, the total. So total for the feedings will be the average, which is 7.14 times 4. Okay. But each one is 7.14. Average means each if divided equally. So 4 of them to get a total. So to get the total, what do we have to do? We have to change this to improper fraction and multiply. 7 times 4 is 28 plus 1. So it's 29 over 4 times 4. Can do 4 over 1, right? So the 4 will cross out, and then we'll end up with 29 as the total feedings, ounces. So that's the total. Now the 3 feedings are given, so we can add them up to know the 3 feedings, the total of the 3 feedings. So the 3 feedings total, 3 feedings, that will be equal to 7.5 plus 7.38 plus 6.38. Okay, you have to add all these numbers to get for the 3 feedings. Since we're adding, we need to have the LCD, common denominator. LCD here will be 8, right? This is times 4 to get 8. So I'll multiply this by 4 as well. So 7.38 plus 6.38. Okay, what would this give me? 7 plus 7, that's 13 plus, so that's 14. 14 plus 6, that's 20. So you have 20 here. 4 plus 3 is 7 plus that. So that is going to give us 10 out of 8. Okay. So since this is improper fraction, I divide 8 into the 10. That will give us one whole number, 2 out of 8 left, right? So it's going to be 21 to 8, which is the same as 21 1/4. Okay, 21 1/4. That'll be for the 3 feedings. Okay. So what will be the 4th feeding? The 4th feeding, I have to subtract 20 total, which is 29, minus the 21 1/4. Okay, since I'm subtracting, there's no fraction here. I can create a fraction out of 29. So I'm going to make it 20, borrow 1. So I have 28 parts and whole numbers left. The one that I borrow is in terms of the fraction. So it's 4 out of 4. Taking 4 parts out of 4 parts. That is 1. Okay. Minus 21 1/4. I can subtract. 28 minus 21 is 7. 4 minus 1 is 3. So I have 3 over 4. So the answer will be D. Yeah. So this one involves like 3 steps, main steps. Multiplying fractions, adding fractions, and subtracting fractions. Then number 18. Okay, number 18, I know that one should be, we should good on that one. 20 beats in 15 seconds, so 1 minute. So that should be 84, right? If you're confused, you can still set up a proportion. 21 beats, 15 seconds. You need to have seconds here and beats. That'll be X. Since it's 1 minute, 60 seconds. And then do your cross product. You come up with 84. Okay. Number 19. Number 19 is if you multiply out, you should get C. So we'll skip that one. Number 21. 6/7. You want to change the decimal, run it to 3 decimal places. So in other words, so you're going to divide okay, number 20, if you divide that one, you should get 23. Okay. So 0.15. So to divide this, always make sure you have the denominator is a whole number. Okay, always. So we move the decimal point 2 places to the right. In other words, you're multiplying by 100. So now it becomes 15. Whatever I do a denominator, if I multiply 100, I multiply this also by 100. 1, 2. There's no place to move also twice. So I have 3, 4, 5. So if you divide this, it should give you 23. Okay. 23. Okay. For 21, okay, that one you're going to divide 7 into 6. Okay, so if you do that, you come up with B. Okay. I believe you all had those questions correct. And in 22, say a recipe requires 3.5 cups of non-fat milk. A person already has 3/4 cups. How much more? So keyword, how much more? When you see how much more, then you have to think of subtraction. You're going to subtract somewhere. Okay. So I have 3.5. That's what you require. And the person already has 3/4. So you subtract this. Fractions, subtraction, LCD. Okay. So you have to write 3 LCD of 4. This is times 2, so it should be 2 minus 3/4. 2 minus 3 is, you're going to give a negative number, but we can borrow from the whole number. We have a whole number to borrow from, so we have to borrow. So if I borrow from the whole number, I have 2 whole numbers left. The one that I borrowed is in terms of denominator is 4 out of 4. 4 parts out of 4 parts. So I add the 4 parts to the 2, so that gives me 6 parts out of 4 minus that. Okay, so we end up with 2 whole numbers, 6 minus 3, which is 3 out of 4. So that would be A. (23) Of the adults coming to a clinic, 9.5% have a certain condition. So 9.5%, we can write that down. 9.5 out of 100. Those who are the condition. Now you have, so these are the number of adults that come in. So set up the same ratio here. Those who have condition, says how many people do you expect this condition? We don't know. So X over the adults who come in. So 150. Just this would be the proportion to solve. So we'll have 100X is equal to 9.5 times 100. No, times 150. 150. 150. And divide by 100. So your X will be equal to, you have 14.25. But since we're gonna have 0.25 for a person, it means that you have 14 people. Okay. 24. A woman's diet contains 65% of the recommended amount of calcium. If the recommended amount is 18 grams, how much more calcium does she need to meet these requirements? Okay. So the diet has 65% of the recommended, and 18 is the recommended. So we need to find the amount that she's getting now. Okay, so we need to find 65% of 18. So that'll be 18 times 0.65. So you have 11.7. So the person is getting 11.7 milligrams now. How much more does the person need? You need 18, but you're getting 11.7. So you have to subtract, and that'll get 6.3 milligrams. 6.3. Okay. 25 says the 6% sales tax on textbooks was 3.54. How much the textbooks themselves cost? Well, find cost of the textbook themselves. Okay. So we need to, you can use a proportion for this problem. And so 6% sales tax. So 6%, 6 out of 100, that'll be equal to the 6% is the sales tax. So it goes to the 6%. This is the, so 3.54. How much the books themselves cost? The cost of the books, that's original cost, the base, we don't know, so X. So we have 6X is equal to 3.54 times 100. 6X is equal to 354 divided by 6, divided by 6. So your X will be equal to 59. 59. 26 says, if 30% of a certain number is 120, what is the number? Okay. So you can set a proportion. 30%, write that down, of a certain number. We don't know the numbers, so of X, that's a base. Is 120, that's a part. And then do your cross product. 30X is equal to 120 times 100. Divided by 30, divided by 30. So our X will be equal to, you can cross zeros out. Zeros cross out. 3 here is 1, 3 here will be 40. So we have 400. Number is 400. Another way, if you want to work backwards, that's also fine. You can do quickly. You find 30% of the numbers given and see if you get 120. So you can back solve, which whatever helps you out to work quick. Then 27. 3 ounces serving of corned beef hash supplies 153 calories. How many calories will be supplied in 5-ounce serving? Again, proportion here. 3 ounces to 153 cal. Same ratio here. Ounces and cal. So you have 5 ounces. This is missing. And then you solve the proportion. We solve this, we'll come out with the answer 255. 255. Then 28. You spend 1/5 of your salary for taxes, 1/4 for rent, and 1/10 for movies. What fraction of salary is left for other expenses? Is left. Okay. So it means that we have to add all the fractions that we have here. So 1/5 plus 1 over 4 plus 1 over 10. So we need LCD. 20, 20, 20. So this is 4, this is 5, this will be 2. If you add all this, you end up with 11 out of 20. Okay, back. So this amount, the fraction spent on all this, on salary, taxes, and rent. How much is left? If you're thinking of fractions, one whole is what you're dealing with, one whole number. Okay, one whole. So if you have 11 out of 20, if this is 11 out of 20 parts, how much is left here? Okay. So it means that 1 minus 11 out of 20. In other words, it's 20 over 20 parts minus 11 out of 20 parts, okay, which gives us 9 out of 20 parts. So if you have 11 out of 20, you take the 11 parts, you have 9 parts left. So that's yes. Okay. 29. If 65% of a student body of 2,000 students, sorry, if 5% of a student body of 2,000 students pass a mathematics examination, how many students did not pass? So the key word is did not pass. That's the question here, did not pass. So 65% passed. That means that we can find 65% of 2,000. So 65% of 2,000, 0.065. So that will give us 1,300, right? So how many did not pass? We need to subtract. So that will be 2,000 minus 1,300, and that will give us 700. So 700 did not pass. 700. Okay. Then number 30. We want to simplify what we have here. So we have to combine like terms. Combine like terms. So we have 3 over 4x will go with negative 1 over 6x plus 3 over 10y will go with 2 over 5y. Okay, since you're doing fractions, you make sure you have the correct LCD for each of them. So for the x, LCD will be 12. So I'll have, this is times 3, so I'm multiplied by 3, so that'll be 9x. 6 times 2 is 12, so I'm over 1 by 2, so it's 2x here. Plus, for the y, LCD is 10. So this is 3y. 5 times 2 to get 10, so I'm multiply this by 2, so that's 4y. Okay, so we end up with 9x minus 2x, that will be 7x over 12 plus 7y over 10. Okay, that will be the answer. So that should be A. A. Number 31. 1 quart is equal to 0.9 liters. How many quarts are there in 15 liters? So you can set up a proportion. 1 quart to 0.9 liters. Set up same proportion. X quarts, we don't know, to 15 liters. And then do a cross product. So (0.9x) is equal to 15. Then divide. So x will be 15 over 0.9. Okay. To work in that fraction, that's if the answer is in fractions. So to work in this in fraction, it means that you can well, you can divide and then change the decimal to fraction, because you get 16.6666 and those 6.66 is 2/3. Yeah. Or you can make this a whole number by multiplying by 10. If I multiply this by 10, then the decimal will move one place to the right. So it will be +9. So yeah, just whole number 9. What do I do to this? I move the decimal points at the end of this number. So if I move it one place, it means I have to add 0. So you have 150. And if I divide this, I'll get 16/2/3. If you want to stick to a fraction approach. Okay. Then number 32. Number 32. This, I'm going to change this. I think from what you had, it should be, I think you should have the correct one on the one that you did. Okay, this is 23/9. Should be this. So here you're multiplying two fractions. When you're multiplying fractions, remember you change to mixed number. Sorry, I said mixed number. Improper fraction first. If I have a mixed number, you change to improper fraction before you multiply. Okay, so 6/1/3 will be 3 times 6 plus 1, right? So that's 19/3 times 3 times 3 is 9 plus 2, so it's 11/3. So if you multiply this out, you should get the answer. So 209 divided by 9. And that should give us 23/9. Okay, 23/9. So that'll be this. And then 33, the length of a rectangle is 3 times its width. If the area is 147, what is its length? So the length is given. So think of rectangle. The length is 3 times the width. So the width is W. The length here is 3 times W, 3W like this. Okay. We know that area is length times width. If you multiply these two. Okay, so the area will be 3W here times W. So that gives us 3W squared. Okay, but we know that this is 147. So 3W squared is equal to 147. Divide this by 3, divide by 3. So your W squared is equal to, so that'll be 2 here, that'll be 4. 3 into 14 is 4. That's 12, remainder 2, 27. So that's 49. How do I get W by itself? I take square roots. Take square root of the left side, take square root on the right side. So we end up with W to be equal to 7. Okay. So the width is 7. My question says find the length. Find the length. So to find the length is 3 times the width. Okay, so we have to multiply 3 times 7, and that's 21. So the length is 21. Okay, 21. Okay. All right, so 34. 34, you're dividing like a number by a fraction. So in division, keep the first fraction or first number, and then times reciprocal of the second one. So the first one is to 13x squared y, keep that, times reciprocal of -1/3. So that becomes reciprocal is -3x. Okay, that will be reciprocal here. So if you multiply this out, we have -39 x cubed y, s cubed y. Okay, so -39 s cubed y. No. Let's go back to the question again. We're doing something wrong here. Let's go back again. Now, over here, let's understand this here. What we have here, this is x over 3. That's what this means. I didn't take care of the x here, right? So what we have here looks like this. The x is the numerator. So it's negative x over 3. This is how it looks like. Okay, so you have to be careful with this question. So I have to take reciprocal of this. And the reciprocal that will be negative 3 over x. This is how it should look like. Okay, because the x is part of the numerator. Okay. So if I multiply, I should have negative 39. Now the x is going to x squared divided by x. So it means 2 minus 1, the exponent. So I just have x and then the y. Okay. So we have to be careful with this question. So the answer here will be negative 39xy. Okay. This should be your answer. Okay. Now 35. Say increase 1/3 by 2/3 of itself. Now express your answer as a decimal to the nearest 1,000 place. Increase 1/3 by 2/3. So that means 1/3, 2/3 of that, 2/3 of itself. So 2 over 3 times 2 over 3, find 2/3 of 1/3. So that will give us 2 over 9. All right, 2 over 9. Now, once you get that, you have to add this on to the 2/3. So add it on to the 1/3. Okay, because the number is 1/3. So 1/3 plus 2 over 9. Okay. So to add this, you need the LCD 9. So this has to be 3. So the answer will be 5 over 9. So if we change it to decimal, we should get 0.555555. No, around 3 decimal places. So that'll be 0.556 to be C. Okay. So 36. So the use of alcohol among the military population increased by 250 soldiers, compared to the previous year. This represents a 25% decline in the users, so it decreased. Okay, if the military population remains the same, how many soldiers still use alcohol? Okay, still use alcohol. So it decreased by that, and this represents, so it means 25% goes with this, represents 25% in decline. So consider proportion, 25 out of 100. The decline is just 250. Then when you find X, because the 100% is the whole. Okay. So when we do this, we'll end up with this times that's 25x is equal to 250 times 100 divided by 25 divided by 25. So that will give us 1,000. So X is 1,000. So remember, this 1,000 is not the answer, right? This 1,000 is just the military population. That's the military population. Okay, but the question says, how many still use alcohol? How many still use alcohol? So it's very catchy here. So out of this 1,000, that's a population, the total number of soldiers, that's the total soldiers. The the population. So 1,000 out of this number that use, right? It went down by 250. So I mean, those who still use it is 750. Just subtract the 750 and those who are still using it. So originally you have 1,000 people who are using the alcohol, the total use alcohol, but it went down by 250. So the new number is, those two still use it, is 750. So this one you have to think a little deeper. And then 37, you want to find X. If a fraction in a question, get rid of fraction, right? So in this question, you can multiply through by 3, multiply the whole thing by 3. So 3 times 10, multiply 3 times this number, and then 3 times 25, through by 3 to get the fraction. So we end up with 30 minus 2x is equal to 75. Okay. So if we solve this, then you get your answer to be negative 22.5. Negative 22.5. Then number 38. So what is the value of square root of 121 over 11? So square root of 121, you have to do that first. And so that gives us 11. 11 times 11 is 121. And divide by 11. So we get 1. So the answer is B. Then number 39. You have 1,500 to live on for 2 months. If you spend one third is spent on for food and 1/4 is spent for rent, how much is left for other expenses? Okay. So 1/3 for food, 1/3 for rent. So what you could do, there are 2 ways you could do this problem. You can decide to find 1/3 of 1,500, find 1/4 of 1,500, add them up and subtract from 150. Or you can work a fraction. I can find what fraction is spent on other things. So I can add this 2. So I need the LCD. That'll be 12, 12, 4, and 3. So in other words, 7 out of 12 is the part spent on food and rent. So the fraction left, that means I take it out of 1, okay? Will be 1 minus 7 out of 12. In other words, 12 out of 12 minus 7. Okay, 12 out of 12 minus 7 out of 12. So I have 5 parts out of 12. This will be the part that is left for other things. So what is the amount? Okay, so 5/12 of the 1,500. 5 over 12 times the 1,500. And then that will give you the amount of money. Okay. So if you work this out, they have $625. $625. Okay. And then the last portion of this, you have the sum of 3 numbers is 95. 2 of the numbers are 23 2/3 and 65 3/4. What is the third number? Okay. So it means that we have to add these 2 numbers and then subtract from 95. So 23 2/3 plus 65 3/4. So add this up. So when add this up, we'll get 23 LCD. So the LCD here will be 23, this is 12. That'll be 8 plus 65. This is 12. That is 9. Okay. So that will give us 88/17 over 12, which is the same as 89/5 over 12, right? 89/5 over 12. Now we have to subtract this from 95. So that will give us 94, 12 out of 12 minus 89, 5 out of 12. And then we'll end up with 5, 17 over 12 as the answer. That's this. Okay. Then number 41. Number 41, you want to expand what you have here. So if you're not too sure, what you should do is to multiply this out by yourself. Expand it like this. Square means you're multiplying the number by itself. Okay, so you can do this and then distribute. So if you distribute x times x, then x times 6, then you multiply innermost and outermost. Okay. So x times x will be x squared. X times that will be negative 6x. Innermost negative 6x. Outermost negative 6 and negative 6, positive 36. So we end up with x squared, combine like times here, 12x and then plus 36. Okay, so the answer that we expect here will be C. Okay. And then 42. So if a patient receives 25%, sorry, 250 milligram of a certain medication 4 times a day, 4 times a day, how many grams of that medication would that patient take each day? Okay, so 4 times a day. So 250 milligrams times 4. You multiply by 4, so you get 1,000 milligrams. Okay, 1,000 milligrams. But we know that we want it in grams. So we know that 1,000 milligrams is equal to 1 gram. Okay, so it means that this is 1 gram. 1 gram. And then number 43 says the average of 4 numbers is 26. You know 3 of the numbers. What is the 4th one? Okay, so like the fraction, the one that we did on the fractions, very similar. Average of 4 numbers. So find the total of the numbers. So it's 26 times 4. That will give us the total of the numbers, which is 104. Then add up the 3 numbers. You can add up the 3 numbers to find the sum of the 3 numbers. So the sum of 3 numbers, add them up. So that will be 12.5 plus 30.4 plus 44.8, which will be equal to 87.7. So the 4th number, you're going to subtract. So total 104 minus 87.7. And then that gives us 16.3. So 16.3 is your answer here. Okay. And then 44 says simplify. So to simplify, it means that we have to distribute and get rid of parentheses in this question. So we have to multiply the number in front of parentheses by everything within the parentheses. Okay. So I have 8 minus 3 times x, so negative 3x. Negative times negative is positive, so plus 15y, and then plus 3y. Okay. Combine like terms of 8 minus 3x plus 18y. Okay. So that would be C. And then for number 45. Number 45, we have to be careful with that one. So it means we need to know it's how many 6 by 6 inch tiles will be needed to cover 12 by 12 foot floor. All right, so the units are different, inches and foot. You have to make sure you have the same units, so that has to be done. And then we know that I have to find the area of the larger floor. It's the area of the large floor. And then you divide it into small pieces, tiles. So that means there's a division problem here. Okay, so what is the area? The area is going to 12 by 12, well, change to feet. So we have 12 times 12. So the answer is inches, right? That's that one, times the other changing this also to inches, 12 by 12 inches. Okay, so this is that, and this is this, if you convert to inches. And you have to divide this by the smaller area, which is 6 by 6 inches. Okay. Okay. So if you multiply this out, then you get your and divide, you get the answer. So you can do this quickly by reducing to lowest terms. 6 here is 1, 6 here is 2, 6 here is 1, 6 here is 2. So you have 12 times 12, which is 144, times 4. So if you, that gives 576. So that will be the answer here. Okay. So this is how you approach the problems, you know. So I hope you've learned a lot today. Any